Are you seeing any clarity out of this meeting?
Well, good morning. Yeah, I think the good news is that we have both Russia and the non-OPEC meeting with OPEC, so that's very important. This is a very important meeting. I think the fact that they will not make a final announcement till tomorrow is also very sensible. They all need to be on board. The minister of Saudi Arabia, of course, is supported by UAE, Minister Suhail Masroui, the Secretary General of OPEC. They're all working together, so that's all very positive. 2019 looks like it's going to be a weak year. Demand looks like it's going to be quite soft. Usually the first quarter takes a big drop from the last quarter of the year before. So it is important to have a clear idea of what the demand is going to be like and then to adjust supply accordingly.
Sadad, Morgan Brennan here. What's more important, especially when you look at what's played out over the last couple of years, price stabilization or market share? Because the last time we saw OPEC cut production numbers, the U.S. continued to pump more, even though prices were low, and take on more market share.
I don't think it's a question of so much competing for market share. I think it's a question of looking at the global outlook and making a pretty good forecast of what the supplies are from beyond OPEC. I think the U.S. Production is very clear. Not so clear is production from other countries, including within OPEC. Iran, for example, Venezuela, for example. So trying to get a good handle on what the global supply is going to be like, and then coming in with the additional supplies from within OPEC or reductions to make sure the market is balanced. No intent at this time, I don't think, to try to achieve a certain price, but mainly to try to make sure there's no overhang of supply, which is what we were seeing in the last couple of months. But at the same time, not trying to make such a big adjustment so abruptly that the markets overreact to that as well.
Sadad, as we look to other markets outside of oil, it really seems as if investors are bracing for some kind of a global slowdown. Maybe it's underway, maybe it's just a fear of one. Is there anything on the demand side that would give you some concern when you're talking about getting the market back into balance?
Yeah, the demand, of course, with all the issues of trade and tariffs, with the issues of the Chinese economy perhaps not being as strong. The North American economy is doing well, but the Europeans are not. So all of these are indicative of potential softness in the demand side. On the other hand, we do have a usual downturn in demand in the beginning of the year. Every year, it's the first quarter, second quarter are soft, and then by mid-year, demand picks up quite a bit. So I think strategic players in this market will not let the short term dominate their thinking. I suspect that they'll be trying to go through this downturn right now in demand and then look to the longer term later in 2019 to see a recovery.
Huh. So you think seasonality remains a story here? Is that in a broader sense than in past years, or is this typical seasonality?
Definitely there's a seasonality as a foundation to what the outlook looks like. But then beyond that, there's geopolitics. We still have Iran building ballistic missiles and creating a lot of tensions. We still have instability in Venezuela and concerns about the ability to sustain production. And again, the European markets with all the issues of Brexit and trade. So that's an imprint on top of seasonality, and that has to be considered very carefully. I don't think OPEC will make all its decisions in one go. They will look at the situation now, and then they'll review it again, and they will set targets during the course of the year to adjust their outlook.
And of course, looking ahead to 2019, Sadad, OPEC is going to look different as well, with Qatar exiting the cartel. Does that create a risk that you could see more countries follow suit?
Qatar has its own priorities. It is one of the largest LNG producers. It certainly has one of the largest gas reserves in the world. But it's not a very significant player as far as oil. And I think as they look at their outlook in the long term, they probably see perhaps advantages to striking a different tack in terms of energy markets. It's sad and it's regrettable that they leave OPEC because certainly they were an important, at least politically an important player. But it doesn't affect OPEC in any other way. They will still have the main producers, the 5 major producers, and with Russia and others now supporting it, they will still be able to do a fairly good job at trying to regulate oil markets.